Welcome to today's deep dive. We're looking at a really compelling stack of materials today. It's focused squarely on how we teach 4 to 6-year-olds about caring for their bodies.
Yeah, and we have some fantastic early childhood curriculum guides for this, specifically the Western Australian pre-primary system.
Right, alongside some interactive production scripts and hands-on activity notes that are designed specifically for this exact developmental stage.
And if you are, picturing heavy academic lesson plans about the cardiovascular system or the mechanics of digestion, you can just toss that right out the window.
Mm-hmm.
The materials we're unpacking today take a fundamentally different approach. They separate the essential life skills from the complex biology that frankly can just wait until these kids are much older.
Which is exactly what we're going to extract for you today. Our mission is to take these pedagogical frameworks and really translate them into a practical, actionable toolkit for you.
For the everyday parent.
Exactly. We're looking at how to teach children about their bodies using simple daily habits, guided play, and opportunistic learning. So no stress, no fear-mongering about germs, and no dense academic language to wade through. Okay, let's unpack this.
To really get into this, I think we first need to recalibrate what caring for our body actually means at the 4 to 6-year-old stage, because expectation and reality often completely clash for parents here.
Oh, absolutely. There's this immense societal pressure to start teaching children complex science so early on.
Right. But the WA curriculum guidelines explicitly state that at this age, this topic is almost entirely about building situational awareness. It's about helping children notice what their own body needs in real time.
And the framework takes a really fascinating angle on this. It completely abandoned rote memorization. It actually lists out what you do not need to worry about, which I think is such a relief.
It's a huge relief.
You don't need to deliver lectures on how the immune system fights off pathogens. You don't need to provide detailed breakdowns of the gastrointestinal tract or, explain sleep cycles, calculate calories, or enforce some flawless daily routine.
It shifts the entire focus from external knowledge to internal awareness. A 4 to 6-year-old's understanding of the world is anchored entirely in immediate observable functions. They operate on simple cause and effect.
Right.
So a child at this age can beautifully grasp that sleep helps us grow and feel better. They understand that water helps our body work properly, that food gives us energy to play, and that movement makes our muscles strong.
Yeah, they don't need to know how the stomach breaks down carbohydrates. They just need to recognize that food is the fuel that lets them run really fast at the playground.
Precisely. And I think it's crucial to pull a key insight forward right now, one that the activity notes subtly weave into all of these lessons, and that's the concept of interoception.
Interoception, yes.
Yeah.
Which is the absolute core of this entire curriculum, even if parents aren't using that specific word at home.
Right. Interoception is essentially our 8th sensory symptom. It's the ability to perceive physical sensations inside the body.
That's knowing when your heart is racing.
Or when your stomach is tight, when your bladder is full, or when your temperature is rising.
And what the curriculum designers understand is that for a 5-year-old, recognizing that their body is hot or their muscles are tired is the very first step toward emotional regulation.
It really is. Because if you can't identify that your chest feels tight, you can't identify that you are feeling anxious later on. By teaching them to read these physical clues now through everyday habits, we are giving them the vocabulary they need for the future.
And the most effective way to teach this isn't through a sit-down lesson. It is through guided play.
Exactly. So let's look at the mechanics of that play, starting with sleep and rest. Because bedtime is historically a major friction point in almost any household.
Oh, it's a battleground.
It is. And the activity notes suggest that simply ordering a child to go to bed often triggers resistance because it just feels like an arbitrary end to their fun. Instead, the framework recommends shifting the language to focus on function. You explain, sleep helps your muscles and brain rest. You give the rule a biological purpose that they can actually understand.
And the production scripts actually include a brilliant role-playing scenario for this. Instead of starting with the child's bedtime, you have the child put their favorite stuffed animal or doll to bed.
Which totally shifts the power dynamic.
Right. You ask them, does Mr. Bear look tired? He's been playing all day. Let's help his muscles rest. It turns a point of friction into a moment of empathy and care, and the child gets to be the caretaker.
There's also fantastic physical activity outlined in the materials called the contrast game. This directly targets that interoceptive awareness we were just talking about.
This is the jumping one, right?
Yes. You have the child jump up and down or wiggle around as fast as they can for exactly 30 seconds. Then you have them sit down and rest quietly for 30 seconds.
It's interesting that the curriculum uses such a stark physical baseline. But how do you prevent a 4-year-old from just getting completely overstimulated by the jumping and then refusing to sit for the resting part?
That's a great question. The notes actually offer a buffer there. The key is to frame the resting portion not as a punishment or a timeout, but as the second half of the science experiment.
Oh, I see.
You prime them by saying, okay, freeze like a statue and let's feel what's happening inside. Then you ask the crucial follow-up question, how does your body feel after rest?
And they will physically notice that their breathing has slowed down and their heart isn't pounding against their ribs anymore.
Exactly. It connects the abstract concept of resting directly to a tangible physical sensation of calming down.
That contrast game actually provides the perfect narrative bridge into our next topic, which is hydration. Because what happens when you jump around for 30 seconds? You get hot.
You get very hot.
And the WA curriculum uses that exact physiological response to teach about water. The goal is to teach kids to notice thirst before they reach the point of a full-blown meltdown.
Right. We want them to recognize the body's early signals. The sources suggest initiating a first check game immediately after active play. You basically act as detectives looking for physical clues on their own bodies.
Are their lips dry? Is their skin sweaty?
Yes. And you can explain that sweat is the body's clever way of cooling us down, but it means our body is losing water and we need to put it back.
There is a suggestion in the notes that I think is incredibly clever. It's letting the child be the water monitor for the entire family.
I love that one.
You give them the official job of noticing when everyone might need a drink. You say, hey, we just played outside, water monitor, what does our body need right now? It taps perfectly into a 5-year-old's desire for responsibility and autonomy.
It empowers them, which makes them far more likely to engage with the habit without you nagging them. And this brings us to food and energy, which is arguably the trickiest area for parents to navigate.
It really is. It is so deeply ingrained in us as adults to say, eat your broccoli, it's good for you, or no more cookies, they're bad for you. How do the curriculum guides suggest we rewrite that script?
The guidance here is definitive. Keep conversations about food completely neutral. The framework advises stripping away all moral language.
So no good or bad foods.
Exactly. A food is not good or bad, and eating a certain way doesn't make the child good or bad. Instead, you categorize them practically, perhaps as everyday foods and sometimes foods. But the conversation should always be framed around function.
Food gives your body energy to run and think.
Right. And the interactive notes have a physical game for this too. You act out being full of energy, wiggling around, jumping, moving fast. And then you act out being very tired and moving sluggishly across the room.
And you pause and ask, what helps our body get energy when we feel slow like this? It makes the connection between eating and having the physical fuel to play totally explicit.
And that naturally flows right into movement. At this developmental stage, movement is not about structured exercise.
We aren't asking kindergartners to do reps or run laps for cardiovascular health.
Definitely not. Movement is about discovering what the body is capable of. It's dancing in the living room, climbing at the playground, or just balancing on a curb.
The movement vocabulary game is a great example of this. You call out different ways to move. Move fast, now move slow. Move strong, move gentle. You are building their physical vocabulary alongside their verbal one.
And then, just like the contrast game, you pause and ask, what changed in your body? Did their muscles feel tight when they moved strong? Did they feel floppy when they moved gentle?
That reflection is the actual learning objective. The movement is just the vehicle. Here's where it gets really interesting, because the curriculum provides some incredible hands-on science experiments you can do in your kitchen to teach the next major theme, which is hygiene and sun safety.
Yes, but before we detail those experiments, we have to establish the pedagogical ground rules for hygiene. The materials strongly emphasize keeping the tone entirely calm and neutral.
That is so important.
We must avoid shaming a child for getting dirty. We must avoid scary stories about illnesses or hospitals, and we absolutely do not want to create germ anxiety.
Right. The goal is not to make them afraid of the world they are exploring. The focus is purely on cause and effect. The script is remarkably simple. Soap washes germs away.
No microbiology lectures required, just engaging visual proof. One of the classic activities from the notes is the glitter germs experiment.
Oh, yes. Of course, the activity notes boldly assume you are willing to unleash loose glitter into your home with a 4-year-old.
It is a risk.
But if you are brave enough to do that, the payoff is brilliant. You put a tiny bit of glitter on your child's hands and have them touch a few toys or maybe your hand. They get immediate, undeniable visual feedback on how things spread from surface to surface.
And then, crucially, you wash hands together and show how soap and water wash the glitter away. You say, germs are tiny, just like this glitter. See how the soap washes them right down the drain?
Now, if you want something a bit more contained, and honestly, a bit more like a magic trick, there is the pepper and soap demonstration. Have you seen this one?
I have, and it is highly effective for this age group.
You take a shallow bowl of water and sprinkle ground black pepper all over the surface. The pepper represents the germs. You have your child dip a dry finger into the water. Nothing happens. The pepper just sticks to their skin.
Right.
But then you put a single drop of dish soap on their finger and have them dip it into the center of the bowl again. The surface tension breaks, and the pepper immediately shoots away to the edges of the bowl. It is a powerful, safe, and highly visual way to prove that soap physically pushes germs away.
It makes the abstract concept of germs tangible. And for the actual daily act of hand washing, the guides recommend turning it into a rhythmic routine rather than a chore.
Like using a 20-second song as a timer.
Exactly. The curriculum reminds us to teach them the mechanics, scrubbing the thumbs, getting between the fingers, but keeping it rhythmic prevents the whole thing from turning into a power struggle.
The same logic applies to dental hygiene. The core concept is simply the brushing keeps our teeth strong. We don't need to terrify them with descriptions of tooth decay or dental drills.
Right. The play ideas here are very tactile. Have them practice brushing a doll's teeth or use one of those large toy teeth models with an oversized toothbrush. Kids at this age love practicing skills on something oversized.
There is also an optional eggshell demo in the science notes. You take a hard-boiled egg and soak it in a dark drink, like tea or cola, overnight.
Because the eggshell acts just like our tooth enamel.
Exactly. The next day, the shell is visibly stained. You give the child a toothbrush and some water and let them scrub the stain away. It's a visual way to explain that drink and food can stick to our teeth, so we brush them clean.
It is brilliant because it relies on observation rather than fear. And we see that exact same philosophy applied to sun safety.
Yes, there are no lectures on UV radiation or long-term skin damage. The simple, age-appropriate truth is that the sun gives us warmth and light, but too much of it can hurt our skin.
To teach this, the curriculum suggests the hat or no hat choice game. You set up different scenarios or dress a doll for different types of weather.
Or when you are actually outside at the park, you make it a game to actively look for shadows and identify where the shade is.
It builds their situational decision-making skills without making the sun out to be a terrifying enemy.
Okay, so we have covered the physical routines, but I want to pivot to something the curriculum handles with incredible care.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, all of these activities, noticing thirst, feeling a fast heartbeat, identifying when we need shade, are laying the groundwork for body autonomy and body safety.
Yes. The curriculum naturally extends the idea of listening to your body into protecting your body. The sources talk about playing the body clue detective game.
Right, after playtime, you just pause and ask, what is your body telling you right now? You guide them to notice if they feel hot, hungry, or if their muscles are tight. Do they have butterflies in their tummy?
This raises an important question, though. How do we transition from my tummy is tight to I feel unsafe?
The WA curriculum includes what they call protective behaviors. At ages 4 to 6, this is gentle and introductory. The tone must remain calm and empowering. We absolutely do not introduce alarming scenarios or stranger danger anxiety, which honestly often just confuses children.
What does the framework actually suggest for teaching that, practically speaking?
It focuses on 3 very concrete concepts. First, my body belongs to me. Second, practicing how to say no or stop in a strong, clear voice. And third, knowing that they can always tell a trusted adult if something feels wrong or uncomfortable.
It is about establishing respect and boundaries in everyday moments.
Yes, it's about practicing that no voice in low-stakes situations.
Like if you are tickling them and they say stop, you stop immediately.
Exactly. Or if grandma wants a hug and the child doesn't want to give one, you support the child's right to say no. When a child understands that they have ownership over their own body, whether that means deciding they are full and don't want to eat more or deciding they don't want physical affection right now, they are practicing body safety in real time.
We are teaching them that their physical boundaries are absolute.
That is the goal.
That is such a vital reframing for parents. It takes the pressure off having one big, scary safety talk and turns it into a daily practice of mutual respect. Which brings us to a really important point as we look at this entire toolkit. We need to define what success actually looks like.
Because it is definitely not what many parents assume it is.
Right. It is incredibly easy to feel like you are failing if your household routines aren't flawless. The finish line here is not a child who has perfect dentist-approved brushing technique,
No, it's not.
and is not a child who flawlessly executes their bedtime routine every single night without a single complaint.
What's fascinating here is how the curriculum defines its milestones. You don't need worksheets or formal assessments. You will know this opportunistic learning is working when your child spontaneously notices their own thirst and asks for a glass of water.
Or when you're walking out the door and your child reminds you that they need a hat because it's sunny.
Success is catching them in their room pretending to brush a stuffed animal's teeth, or hearing them articulate that they feel tired because they didn't sleep well.
It is those tiny, seemingly insignificant moments of daily conversation that actually represent deep curriculum-level learning. When they tell you their heart is beating fast after running across the yard, they are hitting science and health milestones.
They're demonstrating an understanding of biological structure, function, and cause and effect. Their curiosity and their ability to explain what they are feeling is the assessment.
So the key takeaway for parents listening is to keep this entirely manageable. You do not need to block out an hour a day for a formal health class. You embed this into your daily life through small, passing conversations.
Keep it light, keep it playful, and rely on situational awareness.
When you are making lunch, you chat about how the food is going to give them energy for the playground. When they were in the bathtub, you talk about how the soap is pushing the dirt and germs away.
It is consistent, low-pressure awareness.
If your child moves, sleeps, drinks water, eats, washes, brushes, asks questions about their body, and feels safe enough to tell you no, you are doing a fantastic job. You are already succeeding.
You truly are. You are giving them exactly what they need at this stage of their brain development.
So what does this all mean? When we boil this entire stack of curriculum guides and activity notes down, teaching kids about their bodies isn't really about anatomy or biology at all.
No, it's not.
It is about nurturing their natural curiosity. It's about building interoception so they have a deep sense of self-awareness. It is giving them the tools and the vocabulary to be active, empowered participants in their own care.
It is. And I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, building on the psychology we discussed today. We just spent this time exploring how teaching 4-year-olds to be body clue detectives builds an essential foundation for lifelong emotional regulation and boundary setting.
Right.
But think about this. How often do we as adults actually pause to listen to our own body clues during a stressful workday? How often do we push through our own thirst, ignore our own tight shoulders, or dismiss our own need for rest until we are completely burnt out and dysregulated?
We do it all the time.
We do. Perhaps teaching our kids this vital skill is the perfect sneaky way to relearn it for ourselves.
That is a phenomenal point. By teaching them to respect their body's signals, we might actually remember to respect our own. We are learning right alongside them. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. We hope you walk away feeling encouraged, equipped, and ready to play some body detective games in your own home.
Remember, keep the conversations calm, keep them curious, and trust that the everyday moments are where the real learning happens. Thank you for listening.